So I am recording now, so we should be good to go. So, all right, well, thank you all for joining us today for Trending Social Media Strategies to Engage Young People. We're very excited to get to do this with y'all. We have a great hour for you planned ahead. So my name is Matthew Jacobs. I'm an educator here with the Family Place B Project. With us for the Family Place, I hear there's a bit of echo, so that might be later. So we're going to be trying to mute ourselves so that we don't get feedback and things like that. So anyway, we work for the Family Place B Project. The Family Place is a domestic violence agency here in Dallas, Texas, and we help families who are in crisis. There's abuse going on in the home, and so they can give us a call. We help with shelter services, with legal services, job training, just a ton of stuff that we do. You can check out our website, familyplace.org, for more information about the Family Place. And then with us, with the B Project, what we do is we go into the prevention side to the Family Place. So we go into the schools and we talk to students throughout the school year, and then also through the summer through different summer programs and camps, and getting them and all engaged in lots of different activities that we do, all about, you know, violence prevention, bullying prevention, dating and violence prevention, sexual assault prevention. So that's a little bit about me. So I'm an educator. I've been an educator here at the project for 3.5 years, and then I'll allow Layla to introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Layla McNeil, and I'm also an educator here at the B Project. I've been working here in prevention for about 1.5 years now. So I'm excited to be here with you guys today, and I'm ready to get started.
Awesome, great. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So once again, thank you all for joining us today. We're super excited to get to see you all. And once again, if you have questions, feel free to type those in, and we'll get to those after each segment. So our segments for today. So for our agenda for today, we're going to talk about our history, so the B Project and what we had to go through in regards to getting social media. We're going to talk about social media 101 and all those things that come with it. So we'll talk about Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and how our best practices. So we understand that some people might be new to social media, some people might be seasoned vets, and we'll get to that here shortly. We'll talk about content. We'll talk about something that is social media is another way to engage with the students and the youth that you work with. And then lastly, we'll talk about engagement. So what are basically our best practices of reaching a lot of people. So the first thing I want to do is I want to send a poll out to y'all. And I'm curious, where'd it go? There it is. Okay. What is your, hold on, close enable screen sharing. Okay. So what is your main job title? Let us know if you see that. I see some people are voting. So it looks like just about everybody, oh, look at that, 100% of the people voted. So your choices were teacher, educator, and that's about 24% of the people here. Counselor, social worker is 33%, and adult influencers about 10%. So those are coaches, parents, volunteers, and then 33% is some type of other type of way that you work with youth. So that's awesome. Great, great, great. Okay. And the second question we want to ask y'all is, how often do you personally use social media? So this one is, this is your own personal use of social media, so your own private pages. So 50% or so, it's all the time, it's a problem. Average, so you follow like Kim K on Instagram. You're a basic user, you know, just Facebook or just Twitter, you know, nothing fancy. Or the last one being, you know, you just upgraded your rotary phone. That's kind of a joke. We like to joke around here at B Project, and so for those that would be the people who are rarely or if or never use social media. Okay, so about a quarter of y'all are all the time. you're addicted, so that would be us as well. 32% of y'all said you're an average user, and then 36% of you said that you're a basic user, just Facebook and nothing fancy. Awesome. Thanks again for voting in that. This is going exceptionally well. I was very nervous about this. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get into it, and we'll talk about our history of using social media for the Bee Project. So, a long time ago, when I first started, we were in the first kind of conversations about how to use social media, or if we can use social media to engage the students that we work with. Discussions that have come up, other than inside of meetings and running it through our program directors and them having to run it through, the higher ups there. And thankfully and prayerfully, they were a very accepting group of individuals and said, yes, absolutely, if this will help you in your job, then we want you to be able to have access to it. So that would probably be one of the first things, is that being able to show the people that you work with at your agency that this is going to be something that you can use to engage with the youth that you work with, and something that will be beneficial for you, because sometimes through policies, you can't text them, or you can't make phone calls towards them, or they don't have emails or anything like that. So you need something to be able to reach youth, especially if you're having groups or you're in a school and you want to go above and beyond in creating different groups. So through that, our discussion came about, or our discussion of policy on how social media is important for your organization. So questions that you're going to want to ask. So who's going to run it? Is there going to be someone specific? Is it going to be you as a prevention worker? Is it going to be you as a teacher and educator? How will you run it? So and then also for purposes of transparency and accountability, who will have access to it? And something I would definitely suggest is that more than one person has access to it. Just because there's been, lots of stories about inappropriate relationships between teachers and students, or other adults and students, and so just something for accountability, and to make sure that you're being having integrity in your position, that you're going to want something. I would not suggest just one person being on your social media. What is your ultimate goal? Obviously, our ultimate goal for our social media is engaging the youth. But then, what is there anything else that you want to do? Is there something where you want to reach? Do you want to be a content creator? Do you want to be a blogger? So taking all those questions into consideration that you might have. How does communication work between the main user and youth? Like I was saying, is there accountability? And then youth and disclosure. So when we work with our youth, when we tell them, we're on Facebook and we're on, different social media, we're on Twitter, we're on Snapchat or whatever, they always say these words, do you follow back? And so if you don't know what follow back means, if you're a person, if you're following someone and they follow you back, that's kind of like, hey, I want to be your friend too. I want to see what you're doing, but also know that I want to build my audience up as well. And so we tell them, that we don't follow them back, and that can be a conversation that you have. But our main concern is if a student posts something that might be indicating self-harm or other things, that would we be able to find out who the student is, where they are? Are we a required reporter and all those things, so that we just get that whole process by not following back. And we understand if students don't want to follow us, that's their thing. This is their culture and everything. So we don't want to pressure them saying you must like our pages. So that's something else you can talk about. So what we did, we opened up a Facebook friend, so we created an actual person called Bee Project Counselors, and this was before you could have a fan page. You could like something, like the president has a like page and everything. And so we had a person, and so we had students that were our our go-to students these were the students who were above and beyond. They met with us and they planned a lot of events that we did, and so we were their friends. And so we kind of see the bad sides of that now as we look back at it. But now that there's a fan page, we have a Bee Project fan page where we can tell kids, go to our facebook.com/the Bee Project and like our page. And by Facebook introducing pages and liking, our reach to all of our students was now something possible. So instead of only having a few students that we reach out to, we can now reach out to a lot of students. And then with the introduction of new social media, you're going to want to keep up on your policy. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook policy eventually became the social media policy for us. And Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are all pretty similar in a sense. There are ways to post words, articles, photos, videos, and more, and the policy can cover those with an ability to update the policy to fit a special feature of social media. So really it's all about growing your social media. Okay. So for Social Media 101, we're going to focus on the big, I like to call them the big four social media things. We're going to focus on Facebook, we're going to focus on Twitter, we're going to talk about Instagram, and we're going to talk about Snapchat. So Snapchat is one of the newest ones that we're on, and so we're able to work with students, and we're going to show you all the little tips and tricks that we do to kind of go through those things. And so just because this is Social Media 101 doesn't mean it's like the bare basics. But we do understand in our poll that there are some people who don't know, or they just have Facebook, or they haven't used social media, and so we will get through that and talk about all those things and how to do some of those basics and how to make those basic features even better. So Facebook, if you're starting a new fan page, Facebook should give you the option of having your own personal site name. Like I was saying, ours is facebook.com/the Bee Project. So a person can just type that in their web browser for our page, or they'll, they can search for Bee Project, or they can search for whatever your agency is and then find it. Oftentimes, though, what we find is that I'll tell students, go ahead and follow us if you want to on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. And so they'll pull out their phones right there on the spot, and they'll say, oh, is this you? And they'll show us, and it's another Bee Project. It's the Be Kind Project, or it's the Be Safe Project. And I'm like, no, ours is the one with the purple logo. So go ahead and check that one out. And then for your Twitter and your Instagram and your Snapchat, they all have usernames. So for our Twitter, our username is the Bee Project. Our Instagram is just Bee Project, and our Snapchat is just Bee Project. So if you want to go ahead and follow us there, and you can see kind of some of the stuff that we've done personally, and we have some screenshots in the presentation that will also pop up as well. There we go. Okay. So with Facebook, we're going to go ahead and get started. So 1 billion people are on Facebook, but unfortunately, youth are not. With all of our social media, our focus is always going to be on youth. So for our purposes, and while we don't have new youth coming to our Facebook, it is a great way for us to reach back to previous students that have graduated. And we've had opportunity with 3 former students to intern or volunteer with us during our summer project. So it was a great way to reach out to them, who are the older audience of youth, and they were able to get it. So in our main audience on Facebook, even though our focus is on youth, a lot of the audience that we have are adults, professionals, and other agencies, and we like to use Facebook as our main hub. And so the lingo for Facebook is like and share. Those are the 2 things that you'll hear people say, so that when you're talking to youth and students, you can say, you want to like our page, or share this. So those are things. And I was at a training once about social media tricks, and the presenter said that they were retweeted on Facebook, and they didn't use the proper lingo. And some people might say, well, who cares if you don't use proper lingo? But for some people, you want to sound credible. We want to be able to sound credible. If we came in not knowing how to use social media, we might not be very helpful for you all who are looking to use social media. And then on the next 3 slides, I'll be talking about the cool tricks that we use for Facebook, and later you see that we'll give you 3 tricks for the big 3, and these will be part of your 101. So pay close attention and take good notes. Those tricks are: it's a one-stop shop, being able to delete links, and schedule is Bay. And we'll talk about what Bay means if you don't know. Okay, so for Facebook, it really is everywhere. And the great thing about Facebook is that it is like a one-stop shop. So everywhere you go, everything you watch, everything you read, everything you look at can basically be shared to Facebook, and it's usually the first option. So here we have two things that I was on. I was on a Huffington Post article during the Apple versus the FBI, and there was an article written out by Mark Cuban. And so underneath it, you'll usually see a row of all these icons, and all these icons represent different social media. So if you look at Apple versus the FBI versus suggestion, there's the Facebook logo, and then the Twitter logo, and then Pinterest, and then LinkedIn, and then an email, and then I believe that last one, I haven't seen it too often, but I believe it's Discuss, which is a discussion board that some people use. And then if you look at the second one, it was a music video on YouTube, and a lot of YouTube videos have options where you can share them in or share and retweet things. And so there's Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Blogger, Reddit, Tumblr, Pinterest, WCAT, I think that's Wikipedia, I'm not quite sure, LinkedIn, StumbleUpon, and then other ones, Dig, and some other ones that I don't know, because there are there's so much social media out there that it's really hard to come up with it. We're starting now to get to the point where we're asking kids if on Snapchat, and they're saying, no, we're on something else. And it's just like, oh, what is this new thing? And so it's just keeping up with it. Okay. So wanting to make it look good. So what you want to do on Facebook, whenever we post something, we usually just copy and paste the link into the section where it says, what do you want to share, or what's going on, or I believe today's question was, how's it going, Matt? And so if you just do that, if you just copy and paste the link, sometimes, and I'll talk about this, sometimes a picture is automatically generated. It's a screen grab from the article or the video or whatever. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. What I do want to say is that we use, as a department, we use Google Chrome as our browser, and Google Chrome, Safari, which is an Apple browser, Firefox, am I missing one? I think that's all of them. So at least those ones. But Chrome, Firefox, and Safari from Apple, they will do this little feature where it pulls up a screen grab like what you're seeing there with Star Wars from Episode 7. And the reason why I'm saying this is because what we're finding with the newest update for Internet Explorer, it doesn't necessarily do this. Sometimes it used to do it, but now it's stopped. I don't know if it's something on the software end for Internet Explorer, or I don't know if it's something on our end with upgrading to Windows 10, but it's just something that doesn't come up. It'll just pop up the link, and that's it. So what we like to do is, like, we want to make it look good. So what we like to do is we like to take, give it like a short little title, or we'll talk about where it says the new Bee Project blog post. This month, the Bee Project team member writes about the importance of equal representation in media. And so, you have that thing, you have the website, and you still have the screen grab, but it just takes out the link, and you don't necessarily need the link. And what a person can do when they see that, they would just click on the picture, and it'll take them straight there. So you don't have to click on the link. So that's something that just makes it look good, makes it look nice, and it makes it more attractive looking. And I feel, we feel this is the same thing. Like, the picture on the right just looks a lot nicer and more clean, and you know what you're getting into, versus the one on the left. With the one on the left, you're just like, I don't know what this is. Is it about Star Wars? What does Star Wars have to do with bullying and teen dating violence? And so that's something that a person can do. Okay. Schedule is a nice little feature that I absolutely love, because with us, we're just so constantly busy running around all the time that we weren't able to always keep up our social media. So something that Facebook has integrated, there used to be outside websites you could use where you could create stuff, and so you're able to go ahead and schedule stuff. And so with schedule, what you do is when you type in your thing, there's a little arrow next to where it says publish, and you click down on that, and it says scheduled, and so you can set your date and time for schedule so that you have that open available to you. Okay, on Twitter now. Our high school students, mainly 11th and 12th graders, so juniors and seniors, are on Twitter. And Twitter is mainly used by an older audience of students and college students. And once again, our focus on youth and students. our main audience is those older youth and students and other agencies that we find on Twitter. The lingo for Twitter is like, retweet, mention, and DM. And so some of the tricks that we'll talk about, what the @ symbol means, the period @ and the pound sign. So it might look like cussing, but it's not. These are actual things. We'll talk about the HT, or the hat tip, and we'll talk about live engagement, polls, and quote retweets on Twitter as well. Okay, so when you go on Twitter, at the top of your browser, it'll have this. It should have this. It's on Chrome, it's on Internet Explorer, it's on Safari, it's on all this. But if you just go straight across, you have home. That's where, if you click on that, that's going to bring up your timeline. So if you're following and the people that they're tweeting. Moments is a new feature that a person can use where it pulls out different news articles. So whether it was the stuff in Orlando or Cleveland winning the championship, you're able to see those. The notifications is when someone tweets you. Or anything else that they might tag you in a photo or something. And then lastly, there's messages, and that's where you can send private messages to different people. You can also search Twitter as you go further to the right, and then tweet. That's where you can either click on that to type something up, or if you're on your main page, it'll say what's going on, and then you can type in your Twitter there as well. And so the @ is where it's at. So if you want to talk to someone, so what we did, we were at a play at Dallas Children's Theater. So instead of saying their play, Don't You Love Me, was so good at the Dallas Children's Theater, we just tag them in by saying Dallas Children's Theater. And then that tags them in so they can see it and they can like it or retweet it. And then we just wanted to give them kudos in saying that we highly recommend it. But you could also throw in the hash symbol or the pound sign for those of you that are older that remember is that. You can see that and use it, hashtags, to talk about different topics. And the hashtags are just a way to categorize things on the internet. The hat tip and the quote retweet. So the hat tip is kind of like saying, it's like kind of saying a retweet, but it's also saying at the same time, like, hey, this is really awesome. And so we have 2 examples of there where we hat tip the man who has it all, and he took advice given to working moms and applies to working dad. And then the quote retweet is you like something or you see something and you may disagree with it, and so you don't want to retweet it, but you want to talk about it, and so you do a quote retweet. So when you hit the retweet button, it'll pop up and it'll say, do you want to retweet this or do you want to quote tweet this? And so it'll take the original text and put it in the box, and then you can type out your 140 characters. And so I also want to say this, that for Twitter, you only have 140 characters to type something out, and that might be changing. Twitter's talking about a lot of different stuff later on, but just know that you have 140 characters to type something out. So you want to be short and sweet and to the point. Live engagement is something that we did with Dallas Children's Theater while we were there for their play about dating violence. And so we just kind of sat next to each other, and they would tweet us a question, and then we would kind of respond to it. And so one of their questions was, what behaviors are considered abusive? And so how the live engagement kind of happened, we were able to respond to that. So our first tweet was, physical abuse, hitting, choking, shoving, holding down, all these things. And then so we put the 1-3, so knowing that this is the first tweet of 3. And so they have 2, and then also the 3rd tweet there as well. Okay. So also another thing in live engagement is that you can take polls. And so this is a poll that we had did a fake creation of, just to get an example to show out to you. And so it was something that was, just something like asking your followers, did you see the Cavaliers, play the Golden State Warriors? What route should I take to work today? All these different things, and being able to tweet that out. You can add choices. You can do a poll length of 1 day. I believe the most you can do is 7 days to give people a chance to vote. If you want to do something, those are options for you. So a new feature that just recently got added, Periscope is another social media site that I'll talk about a little bit, but think Periscope as your own personal news broadcast. And so when you're tweeting, when you click on the camera that you see on the left side, you click on the camera, it pulls up as 3 options. And this was actually through the mobile phone. So I was using my iPhone. This is also a feature on Android. We don't have, no one here in our office has Windows phones, so we don't know if it's able on that. I would imagine that it is. But you have 3 options. You can share a photo to Twitter, you can share a video, or you can go live with Periscope. And we'll talk a little bit about Periscope here shortly. But if that's something that you want to do, that's just another thing where you can go ahead and Periscope, which is what we're going to talk about next. And so I just want to talk a little bit. So Periscope is a new social media that was recently bought by Twitter that, like I was saying, lets you become your own news reporter. Just like other social media, you can follow people and so on. It has the features. In your broadcast, you can set it up to be private or a public broadcast, so if only your friends can see you broadcast. People can comment on your broadcast or ask questions on your broadcast, to which you can respond. You can also block that feature so that people can't do it. You can make it location-based, or if you're in a private area, you can turn off that location-based, and so that people can't see where it pops up. And so that's like that first picture there on the left, which is a map, and those are all the people, when I took the screenshot, those are all the people that were periscoping all across Dallas. We had people in Dallas and Plano and Mansfield and Arlington and all those things. So people are on Periscope. You can link it to Twitter, and the broadcast will show up on someone's Twitter feed in both the app and on the web. So if you don't have Periscope on your phone, but you want to watch someone's Periscope, and that's what they're doing, you can go ahead and watch that. And so like I was saying, you can only broadcast through the app on a phone. You can't do it through a web browser or anything like that. And okay, so next we have Instagram. So our focus is on youth, like we've been saying this whole time, and our audience actually is youth. This is where students are a majority of the time. Adults and professionals and other agencies also follow us on Instagram, and we also tend to follow back other professionals and agencies that we've worked with in the past. The lingo for that is follow and like or double tap, and that's what you would do is you would just tap twice on a photo and you would like someone's photo. Tricks that we'll talk about are going to be the photo editor, video, and linking to other social media sites. So this is our team. This is a picture of our team. So on the far left is just a normal photo, but what Instagram has is that they have filters where you can make the photos look old school with black and white, or have a more grunge look to them in that photo all the way to the right side. And you can change brightness, you can rotate the photo, you can crop the photo, you can do a ton of stuff with the pictures, and you can also do it with videos. You can add filters over videos, and you can edit the video. So if you have a longer video and you want to make it shorter, you can do that. Instagram used to be no more than 15 seconds, I believe, where you can have a video, but now with the most recent update, you can have up to, I believe it's a minute. I haven't seen the video longer than a minute, so I'm pretty sure it's a minute of video that you can record on Instagram, so it's a big jump. You can do stability, so if it's shaky, you can create a thumbnail where you can choose which one, and then you can do sound if you want to have sound on, or if you want to take sound off, you can do those as well. For linking Instagram, as you can see, after you crop your photo and add your filters, you can write a caption. But down at the bottom of this section, you can see where it says Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Flickr. What Instagram can do is you can actually connect to your other social media sites. So a trick that I would do, if you had Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as an agency, I would use a lot of times with Instagram, and I would connect it to Facebook. Now, I say Facebook only because on Twitter, what happens is it shows up as an Instagram link, so it doesn't pop up automatically. On Facebook, it does pop up automatically as a photo. So with Twitter, if you wanted it to be an actual photo, you would have to go into Twitter and just post a normal photo like you would any other time. Okay, and the last one we're going to talk about will be Snapchat with stories. And so this is how we're starting to use Snapchat, and we'll show you how to set it up. But we use it for stories. And so what stories are in Snapchat is basically like video and picture feeds that last for 24 hours. So if I take a photo today at 12 o'clock, friends of mine on Snapchat can see it up until 12 o'clock tomorrow. Past 12 o'clock, it disappears and a person can't see it again. We don't use Snapchat in private messages, and we'll talk about why those things are. But you can also not only do photos, but you can also do videos. You can do quick little 10-second videos to explain stories and everything. So stories is a feature of Snapchat. And the problem with Snapchat and the solution, like I said, Snapchat is an app that lets people send each other photos and videos that can only be viewed once. Replay is a new feature as well, that when you send someone a snap and it goes away, they have the option to replay it so they can see it again. At first step, you can receive snaps from anyone, so if students or youth follow you, then they can send you snaps. If they send something that is disclosure means the reporters may struggle with being able to show someone what was sent or figure out who sent you the snap. So how to get around this one, and this is going to be on the next one. So when you have your Snapchat, when you first open up your Snapchat, the picture that you see on the left is what you're going to mainly see. And this is your main thing. So if you want to take a picture, you just hit the circle at the bottom, the one in the middle. You hit that in the bottom, and then you just hit it once, and you're able to take a photo. If you hold it down, you're able to take a video. So anyway, so as I was saying, what you would do is you would swipe down, and so the middle screen pops up where it says my name, it says added me, add friends, my friend. And the top right corner, what you see is a little, the setting symbol. It's a little corkscrew or screw or whatever that thing is. And you click on that, and that brings up your settings. What you'll want to do is you'll want to scroll down to who can, and then contact me and view my story. When it's contact me, it'll be two options. It'll be my friends or everyone. When it's view my story, like contact me, it'll be my friends or anyone. And you'll want to set both of those to my friends. So when send you a friend request on Snapchat, you can accept their friend request, but you don't want to accept their friend request, if that makes sense. So when you do that, what it does is it allows you to be able to post things and like post stories and things where people can see it, but they can't respond to it and they can't talk about it, or they can't send a message back to you. And so that's a way to kind of get around that idea, because like I said, if people are sending you photos or anything, you know, if you're trying to disclose, or if they disclose something and you don't know, that kind of gets around that. So that's how we use Snapchat with stories. So we'll talk about the content that we use. Oh, yes, that's right. We do have one question, so I want to get to that. Is Periscope like Facebook Live? Absolutely. Facebook Live is basically Periscope, yes. So they're one and the same. So that's a new feature I was seeing. I think that launched like last month. So yeah, so that's something that is definitely there. So Facebook Live, we just haven't, we didn't make a thing for it, but yeah, so if you wanted to use Facebook Live, that would be something to check out. I haven't checked into it because I use Periscope personally and professionally. So that's something that we, yeah, that's something we just didn't get to. But that's a great question. Thank you. I believe that's Kaden. So yeah, thank you so much for that question. Okay.
Okay, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about content that we post that we find engages our audience the best. So the first thing that I want to talk about is just kind of some fun stuff. Part of our purpose with engaging youth is for something to be both educational and entertaining. So with this slide, a couple of things that got a bunch of likes and a bunch of shares. So we are all Wonder Women, it was never addressed. Those types of things people really like to share. They're empowering for women and girls. So those get shared pretty quickly. A couple of other things are the themed hashtag days. So you see Fun Friday and Motivation Monday. And what the hashtags do is it allows us to participate in social media trends, which gets us in front of other people that wouldn't come to our page normally. So what hashtags do on both Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook is it allows the platform to index those tweets or those posts into the platform's metadata. So that means that anybody else who posts a hashtag Fun Friday, we will all be indexed together. So if I was to click on that, I would see everybody who posted to hashtag Fun Friday. So that helps us engage with a larger audience that we wouldn't normally be able to engage with without that indexing that hashtags give us. All right, next is memes and graphics. So basically anytime you add something funny, add a picture or something visual to your post, it's going to increase your visibility. People are more likely to stop and look at it or stop and read it. So with what we've got here, we've got 2 memes on the left. And memes are just humorous images, videos, or text that are copied and usually with slight variation and then spread around social media. So the 2 on the left have made the rounds quite a bit with different text each time for the most part to make different points about different things. And then you also have kind of entertaining graphics there on the right, which we put up for Fun Friday, and then also Pat mentioned Hollaback, which is where the graphic actually came from, which allowed us, again, to be indexed into that hashtag, but then also to engage with the people who made that graphic. These can be entertaining and educational at the same time and are actually helpful for things like Instagram, where it's really all pictures and all about visual engagement. All right. Another thing that our students seem to like is being able to see us, being able to see the people that, you know, don't just educate them, but actually are engaging with them outside of the classroom. That they get to know us in a way that they wouldn't really be able to inside the classroom. So employee engagement is really important, letting them see us together, having a good time, and being able to see us kind of like out in the wild outside of the classroom. Another thing that we do a lot of is posting student engagement. So the things that they do at their schools that they're proud of. They like to see us showcase their work. It keeps them invested in the work that they do, and it makes them proud of what they've done to see us putting out there for everyone else to see. And if you can hashtag those, if those come on certain themed months, like TDV month or Love is Respect or something like that, that if you index their pictures with hashtags, then it gets an even wider audience, and something that they did locally has now been shared globally. The next thing that gets quite a bit of likes and shares are infographics. These are things where you can get kind of a lot of educational information in one quick place. So we've got one for teen dating violence, we've got one for sexual assault, and then one for transgender awareness. So these are helpful for Instagram, where it's, again, just kind of that visual engagement to where it can be visually engaging while still communicating our purpose of violence prevention. It's also helpful for Twitter since you have those limited characters. One thing to keep in mind is if you are sharing infographics, that the text on the infographic cannot be indexed. So if you wanted to post, say, the one on the top left for Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, then you would have to actually add in the hashtag TDV for that to be indexed in the platform's metadata. So just keep that in mind. If you wanted to have a wider audience, you need to have that hashtag yourself. And this is just an example of a series of posts that we put up for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. You can see kind of what we did, a new post each day to keep the series going, adding the hashtags to make sure that those got indexed each time. The next one, sharing articles. So this is going to be best for Facebook, but also for Twitter, where we can share some of the long-form educational pieces that we want to get out there. Facebook is really best for this. More than likely, it's going to be our more adult audience that's going to take the time to read the articles, and it's on Facebook where they usually are anyway. So that's where the best place to post articles are. And then next, videos. Like anything that's visual, these are going to get your page more visibility. You can post videos. On the left, you can see a series of videos that we posted right after each other. And then you can also make your own videos, which is what that picture of Matt on the right is. When we did that chat with the Dallas Children's Theater that he talked about earlier, some of the ways we responded was through a short video instead of typing out long responses, 30 seconds. So, so what he did, he just recorded a short answer, and then so to make sure that that got to the Dallas Children's Theater audience, he added the hashtag to make sure that that would still be included in the conversation. So you can post videos from elsewhere, but you can also create your own videos as well. And then, of course, the GIFs. Everybody loves the GIFs. Those have become so widely popular. And the way that it used to be on Twitter, this is where at least I see GIFs the most, is on Twitter. You would have to find GIFs on your own and then put them in Twitter. But now when you go to create a tweet, you can search Giphy, which is the what they use to search their GIFs, and you can put those straight into your tweet box from Twitter instead of having to go look for your own. And that's really helpful. But GIFs, again, are a way to reach that younger audience that are engaging with them and using them all of the time. And again, adding those visual things increases visibility to your page. People are much more likely to engage with your tweets if you have those things that are visually engaging on there. All right, next. This is an example of our release and consent form for publicity. So any one of our students who's under the age of 17 will have to sign this if we are going to put their pictures, a picture that includes their face, on any of our social media platforms. And this is to comply with confidentiality laws. Also to comply with confidentiality is not following back, which Matt mentioned earlier. So this is an example of the publicity release form that we came up with for Bee Project. So if you need to come up with one for your agency, this is kind of a basic example that covers all of your bases for that. Over the age of 18, you're fine. You don't need to get a release and consent for publicity form. So some of us are on college campuses, and for those students, for the most part, they're going to be above the age of 17 or 18, and that's not really an issue. So sometimes when we're taking pictures at events, we can't be sure if a student is above the age of 17. Sometimes if we're in elementary school, obviously they aren't. We have to get a little creative with how we're going to show their projects and what they're doing in their schools online. So here's just some examples. There's one with their backs turned, which is acceptable because you can't see their faces. They're not identifiable that way. And then the same thing with the other two photos as well. So part of this is getting creative while still respecting the student's privacy. And does anyone have, it looks like we have one question.
Yeah. So we had someone ask a question, what about if you don't know what the hashtag is? So something that we do is we follow a lot of different agencies. So I know for us, since we're domestic violence, we follow TASA, which is the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault, and TCFB, Texas Council on Family Violence. And a lot of times they'll retweet or they'll share different stuff from national organizations, and these national organizations will say, hey, this is our hashtag for this cause. So when we do, for ours, when we do Teen Dating Violence Month in February, the big hashtag that gets used there is TDV, or just Teen Dating Violence. Also at the same time, if you want to get people to be aware of something, you can also create your own hashtag. So even though we followed teen dating violence, we also created our own hashtag so that people could see what B Project was doing. And so this past year, that was our hashtag of Buzz PDV. And it was kind of a joke because we're B Project, and people often ask us, like, bees like the bugs? And we're like, no. So we kind of used that, and that was a joke that we do. Another question we have, do you all get a parent permission form for young children to post pictures on Facebook, etc.? Absolutely, we get parent permission forms. So that consent form that Layla showed, and I'll pull it back up here, the consent form that we have, that we give these to the students to give to their parents. So me personally, I did a Be More group with a group of 6th graders, and one of those things was I gave them a folder, and inside was a wish for consent and publicity, and it was a letter, saying, hey, your child was selected for B Project, we're really proud of them, they're going to be awesome, and they're going to do these great things, we want to be able to share this, so do we have your permission to show your child's face on our social media to the stuff that they did? And so if the parents sign it, then cool, and we just keep record of that. And so if there's a child that doesn't, we want to include them. So like Layla was saying, we'll do something that will kind of get them there so they can be on it, but they know who it is, and the parents know who it is, but other people won't know who it is. So thank you all so much for those questions. Before we continue on, I want to throw out another poll real quickly, and this one is, how often, actually I'm going to do two, how often do you professionally use social media? So there's 4 options, and it's going to be, let me launch it, be required of the job. We're getting ready to start our own, so you're getting ready to do this. We have a department that posts for us, and lastly, we don't have permission. And so far as we're going, it looks like about a fifth of you it's required. Some of y'all are saying we're getting ready to start our own. A lot of you have a department that posts for us, and only 7% of y'all said we don't have permission. So I do want to say that that's awesome that we have so little people that don't have permission for social media to reach youth. If you're one of those agencies, like I said, email, feel free to shoot us an email at any time. I'll send out another email for for the poll or for the post survey. My email's on there, and you can feel free to chat with us at any time. During the summer, we have a lot of downtime, so if you ever have questions, if you want to call, my number is also in the email. Feel free to do that, and we can kind of help you through those processes as well. Okay, and then the last one, which social media sites will you be using the most? Will it be Facebook, will it be Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, or a website or blog? Okay, it looks like a lot of you are going to be using Facebook and Instagram. Some of you have a website or a blog. 31% of you have Snapchat. 29% on Twitter. Okay, so it looks like a lot of you are on Facebook. So if your audience is mainly going to be youth, the one I would highly suggest would definitely being at least Instagram, where you're able to connect. Instagram is going to be the big one. Facebook, you definitely want to have that as well. Instagram, just me personally, that would be the one that I would push to get to the most, and we'll talk about that as well. So thank you all so much for participating in those polls. We appreciate it. Okay, so these are 2 things that are social media is. These are 2 things that we're currently using, GroupMe and Remind. And these are 2 apps that we use that we want to go above on our normal classroom education lessons. So we have a program called Be More that students can join to take part in advocacy and awareness events in their schools, and we use these 2 apps to kind of communicate them. We use them in tandem, and we'll talk and discuss pros and cons, whether one uses one app and not the other, or if you use both. A lot of students do have GroupMe, and they're able to already have it on their phone, so they just get added. So the first one is GroupMe. Pros and cons of it: the max is 200 members. So if you have a group that you want to send out information to, one of our other coworkers on staff is a counselor. This is how she uses to say, "Hey, we're going to be having a group today because the students get pulled out from classes for the groups." And so we'll be at this room at this time, meeting today. You can think of GroupMe like a default reply all chat room where you can tag people by their name by just adding their name, and then you also have options for, a private chat as well. And the other one we have is Remind. So Remind is a little bit different. So it has unlimited members, so people just text in to be able to join that, and it's a mass mailer, so that you can send out, so if you're sending out a message saying, hey, so ours says, hey, I'll receive this, donate tickets to the Dallas Wings, let us know if you're interested. And so being able to send that out to our students, and then the students can send it back a message. And then there's a private chat feature on Remind as well. And so those are two other things that are not quite social media, so that's why I call them social media-ish. And then lastly, what are going to be your social media goals? And so we're going to look at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat.
Okay, so a couple of things to think about when you're going to set up your social media is what goals you're going to set for yourself. So one of those big questions is, how often do you want to post? We post every day, but that's also partly because we have the amount of people on a team that allow us to do that. We have the time to do that. So not everybody has the opportunity to just, post all day on social media. So decide on a post goal that is achievable for you and try to stick to that. To grow followers, to keep engaging with the audience that you already have, consistency matters. So whatever that goal is that you pick for yourself, make sure it's achievable, and then be sure that you can stick to it. Next, thinking about, go back. Thinking about who you want to engage is another part of that goal. Is your goal to engage youth or just adults or both? Again, since we do have a large team, we are able to do both. If your agency goal or focus is youth, then maybe youth is where you need to focus. So different age groups use different platforms, like we've mentioned a little bit before. So deciding who you want to engage, and then set your posting goals and content accordingly. So for youth, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, Remind, and GroupMe. And then we also decided to start blogging to engage the youth as well. And then for adults, we've got Facebook, which we talked about, and then a newsletter, which we started, and I'll talk about that here in a second. So for blogging, blogging for youth, one of the big parts of this is picking topics that are current and relevant to them. Blogging isn't something that's kind of an evergreen type of thing. Like, it has to be in the moment. If I was to talk about this topic here, representation, Star Wars: The Force Awakens, now, months after the movie has already been released, it's not really going to make much of an impact, and nobody's really going to care anymore. So it's important that you pick topics that are current to the youth that you are engaging. Same thing with the next one. This was a series that came out on Netflix back in, I guess this was also around November. And so that was a blog post that I wrote the week after it came out. So again, relevant in the moment, something that was being talked about and trending on Twitter at that time. So go ahead and go to the next one. And then also looking at one that Matt wrote, you notice with all of the screen grabs that I pulled is that we're still using images, we're still using GIFs, we add links to videos, even in these kind of essay type of formats, still using things that make it visually engaging and accessible for the audience that we're engaging. And then this is the newsletter I talked about. This is the platform that I use is called TinyLetter, and it's super easy. You can just sign up with an email address, and unsubscribing is really easy too. And so this is what we use for an adult audience along with Facebook. We include updates and announcements. We include which schools that we're in, so that these adults know really what we're doing. And then we also do social media roundups and hitting on the main educational things that we put on our social media, and then extra educational resources that parents, staff, and administrators might use. So that's one of the ways that we engage the adult audience as well. And then a couple of last things to think about when you're setting your goals, like I said with the blogging you see in the moment, but also whether you're using Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, that you are in the moment, that you are talking about things and posting things that are relevant to students' lives. So one of the first things to do is to actually talk to the students to find out what they know. What are they watching? What are they listening to? That'll give you a clue as to what types of things will be what types of posts, what types of articles, what types of resources will be most applicable to them. And then the next part is to be following trending popular cultural topics and hashtags on Twitter or Facebook as they happen. The kids are doing this, so it's really important that we do meet them where they are, and part of that is following those pop culture trends. Even if they're not applicable to us, they are applicable to our students. So an example of this, a couple months ago when Beyonce's Formation came out, as you can see, it was the #1 Twitter trending topic. And I saw that trending, clicked on the hashtag, was able to find the video, watched it, and then when I went into schools the next day or the following Monday, I was able to know what the students were talking about. I was able to actually have an informed discussion with them. So knowing what's happening, when it's happening, is going to be an important way to have dialogue with your students. And then the last part is following entertainment and pop culture news on social media. You're already on social media anyway if you're engaging with the students, so go ahead and follow some of those accounts that perhaps they're following. So there's TSC, Entertainment Tonight, Billboard, all of those types of things post up-to-date entertainment, pop culture stuff. So it'll be really easy for you to get access to that. That way you don't have to be, searching for it. It's just going to already go ahead and come in on your feed every day. So, yeah. Are there any last questions? Doesn't look like it.
Oh, we have one question. Okay. Let's see. Oh, okay. For each event, do you need a consent form? That's a great question. No. So what we do is that for each, and this hasn't been something that's come up, but as I'm thinking here on the fly, what we would do is we would have a consent form for each. So in our experience, in each school year. So if students are 8th graders and they were in our Be More group and we had a consent form for there, we would just re-up that the next following school year. So now they're in 9th grade, and we would give them kind of the same form, saying if you want to be posted on our social media, if you want your picture on and stuff like that, we would need your parents to have that. And so we would just have that applied for the whole year. And I think a lot of schools also do that as well, where like even though a person wants to do something, the next school year, they would still need a consent form. So that's a great question. Thank you for that. Are there any other questions? Okay. Well, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of other questions. Like I was saying, we'll be sending you out an email here either today or tomorrow at the latest that will have our post satisfaction survey and anything else like that to get to know you. Thank you so much, Kadans, for that comment. So just thank you for great info. So yeah, so we'll have that to you, and then you'll have, I know there were some people that might not have gotten the first email. I know there were a couple more people registered this morning when I checked, but you'll get an email with all our information, and if there's any questions at all in regards to social media, or if there's anything we can do as an agency to kind of help you in getting your social media goal, or talking more personal one-on-one, walking through stuff, whatever you may need, feel free to reach out. You know, we're always, you know, we always, you know, appreciate it when other people help us out. This is just another way to network. So if there's anything you need, feel free. Once again, so from both me and Layla, we thank you. Hopefully this recording, we can get it out to y'all if you had anyone that missed, and we will talk to y'all again. Thank y'all so much.